There you
All
go.
right. Good afternoon or good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the next installment of this week's class with Chris Gray and the Gathering Strength Foundation with Miss Liz Fuss, who made all of this possible. Thank you very much. Now, what we're going to do is just get right into doing some of these exercises. I'm in dire need of a warm up and loosening of my upper body. So first up, now I'm going to review a couple of key things that I talked about last week. We had a little bit less attendance, but we did a couple of range of motion things and stretches and loosening specifically with the neck. And I know that a lot of people, depending on what type of injury or affliction that they're living with, especially if it's a spinal cord injury, if it's a high level like thoracic or even in the cervical area, that there's limited range of motion sometimes in the neck, especially with the extension movement. So I'm going to go over some warm-ups, but I'm also going to specifically highlight the way that you can loosen up your neck, improve the range of motion, but also keep it healthy and maintain the integrity. I mean, I'm even thinking so far as some people may even have healed in incisions on the back of their neck from operations and everything. So that kind of stuff you got to take into account when you do this. So most of you are familiar. So let's get into our basic warm-up. Go ahead and circle the wrists as much as you can. Just let the hands kind of flail, the fingers, like spaghetti fingers. Very good. Now, the next one, go into circling the elbows. Now, for anybody that only has like use of just one side, if I don't know if you have any kind of sensation at all, but if you can like even cup your hand a little bit and work on just light extension and flexion of the wrist. Also, from this particular angle here, this is the radial bone. This is called radial deviation, which is shorter. And then you have ulnar deviation moving toward the pinky with the wrist, kind of that side to side. You can work that a little bit too. Also, very lightly, you can rotate or even support your arm with your thigh with your elbow, and you can get a little bit of rotation in your wrist that way. Another one that I like to do is to put my fingers in between the others and just kind of give a shake, on the wrist that's kind of limp and things like that, just to kind of get the blood flowing. Now let's go into the shoulder circles, up and back. Really loosens up the neck, also gets the scapulas to move a little bit. Up and forward. Excuse the intercom. Very good. Now let's differentiate. And the other direction. Excellent. All right. So just work with whatever range of motion or movement that you have. So here, I want you to cross the arms and open back up. But notice down here, my right hand is going under. The next time around, make the other hand go under. Just open and closing of the chest, thoracic area. Boom. So if you come back this way and you feel a stretch or any tension right here, then this in the front of the shoulder, then this is a good exercise for you. Okay, being able to bring the elbows back, like I always go over, when you spend a lot of time in a manual chair doing this, anteriorly you get strong and kind of tight, the posterior gets kind of weak. So you want to be able to stretch the front of your chest out a little bit. Now, keeping the hands relaxed, depending on what level of control and motion that you have with the different hemispheres of your body. You can also retract the shoulder and really activate the scapula a little bit. So for instance, if you don't have as much use of one arm, but you can maybe use some of the core muscles to open up that chest a little bit and to hold a little bit of a stretch and even do the other side. Whether or not you can use fully both arms or not, this is actually kind of a good motion for retraction of the scapula and to keep like the muscles in your upper back activated. And then of course, you can, like the S on Superman's chest, you can just stick them both out, shoulders going back. Now they're also, if you can kind of see my hands hanging to the side, when I bring the shoulders back, there's kind of a natural, okay, supination of the hands. And then when I relax the shoulders, my hands will kind of naturally pronate. So let that motion happen. And the more that it happens, the looser your extremities are. So you'll just extend the chest out, extend the back, then relax it. This is actually an integral movement into one of the exercises that we will do eventually. A lot of these movements are pretty integral to some of the internal arts and the Tai Chi that I teach. Good. Now, hands on the thighs. Now, one of the reasons I want to have your hands kind of resting here, if at all possible, and again, you might have to, if one arm is paralyzed or limited range of motion, to keep it from sliding off, you can kind of tilt it in towards the middle. The main reason is because for this particular stretch, I don't want the weight of your arm causing tension and pulling the shoulder down. So support your elbow with your thighs if you need to, or hands right here. So the first neck stretch and warm up we will do is forward and back. So you bring your chin to your chest and then the chin toward the ceiling. Now again, chin toward the ceiling is extension of the neck. If you have any type of incision or operation there, then do not overextend your neck. Just go to where it's comfortable. If it's just 1 or 2 degrees, or if you can go the whole 90 degrees, chin forward to chin up. Just do what your body allows. Now, as my chin goes up is when I will tend to do my inhale through the nose. Chin down, I do the exhale. Very good. About 3 more times with this. We will do a variation, so continue your last 3 repetitions. Now, what I want to talk about here is down here under the chin and around the jowl area into the neck. Okay, a lot of times this skin can get kind of loose, but if to make the skin dynamic, if it moves and stretches a little, it'll keep the tautness of the skin tissue, and it'll also promote getting fluid, you know, like your blood or nutrients and things to the skin and all that. But what I want you to do is when you go back, I want you to open your mouth and then close by clenching your teeth. Not hard, but just enough. I'll give you an example. I'm going to open, and I'm just going to bring my teeth together. What you will feel is a relaxation and a stretching of the skin under your jowl area. Okay, and this is really good to keep that skin healthy. So up, open and close, and then back down. Chin to the chest. Up, open and close, and then back down. Very good. Up, open and close, and back down. So do about 3 more of those on your own, keeping the hands relaxed, elbows supported by the thighs, and the shoulders relaxed. Very good. Now, while you are sitting in your chair, there is a natural tendency, you know, the human body is inherently lazy. And what I mean by that is anytime the human body gets challenged, right after that, it immediately always tries to adapt and find an easier way to accomplish whatever task. So when you're sitting, this is a nice, healthy posture. My core is engaged. And depending on what ability that you have or what you may or may not have recovered, what will happen is you tend to see this. So throughout these exercises, the more that you can keep your core engaged, especially this thoracic area, that's really important. Okay, so throughout the exercises and the workout, There'll be fatigue, and of course you're going to get tired, take breaks and everything. But as much as you can, try to consciously engage that thoracic area of your core every time that you're working. Also, of course, we don't want that smartphone neck, the kyphotic of the neck. Sitting in a chair is going to kind of, make that happen more anyway. So we kind of want to impede that as much as possible. So we want to kind of avoid this posture as well. The crown of the head. This is the top of the head. This here is the crown. Push it toward the ceiling as you sit. Very good. So just some principles to think about as we go through these workouts. Now, the next neck movement I want you to do is basically side to side. Be very passive and relaxed. There's a tendency to kind of force the neck to go further than it needs to. So then you'll tense up on one side. The neck doesn't have as much range of motion as you need, as you think. That's about as far as I can go naturally before I start to really kind of turn my torso. So just side to side, easy, regular breathing. The slowness allows you to feel where the tension, where the pull, and where the stretch is. If the stretches are done too intensely, muscles tend to engage and contract, and you don't really get the benefit of the stretching as you should. Couple more times. Very good. Now, the next one, we're going to go at a diagonal. Okay, so I'm going to think that I'm going to point my nose toward my left knee, and as I go down, chin to the chest. Now, in that same angle, nose goes toward the ceiling. So you are extending your neck, but only to where it's safe and comfortable for you. So work about 5 times in this direction. At any time that you extend the neck, you can also work the stretching of the skin under the neck with the open and close of the mouth. I'm going to do one more time. Very good. Now notice every time I transition to a different exercise for the neck, whether I'm here doing this one, I always move back to neutral position before I start a different exercise. I'll start at neutral, then I'll turn. So now my nose is pointing toward the right knee. I'm going to go down and back. Just working the safe extension. In spinal cord research, a lot of the theory with recovery it starts from what we call a top-down approach. Couple more times with those. So we literally try to recover or maintain the ability granted from the spinal cord from the top down. Okay, so with these stretches and exercises, I'm kind of following that same principle. Okay, now the next one, next exercise we'll do. What I want you to understand is you're going to see a lot of people, for those that weren't here last time, excuse the intercom. So for those of us that were not here the last time, I spoke about, did you guys hear me okay, even with the intercom going? Thumbs up, very good. So even with the flexibility of the neck and the stretching, you may see a lot of people, and I'm really not going to do it. I'm just going to come and demonstrate where they just flame that neck all around the place, kind of the headbangers thing. But here's the deal. If you've ever taken your neck on the back roll and you tend to feel that little pop or that little kind of crick, well, you really want to avoid that. That's not the same as like popping your knuckles. What's happening is the base of your skull is kind of hitting that top vertebrae, and you don't want that to happen. That can lead to like arthritis and things later on in the neck and all that stuff. So when you do a neck roll, you actually avoid rolling on this straight back extension angle. So watch me when we do the neck roll. I want everybody just to watch me a couple of times first. I'm going to turn my chin to the side. I'm going to roll down and then come up to the chin facing the other side, then back the other way. That's the proper neck roll. When you start going on the back angle, and I'm not even going to do it, I'm exaggerating, you're going to start feeling kind of that rub and crick in your neck. That is a very unhealthy movement. So that's why we don't want to do that. So for a few repetitions on your own, I'd like you to go ahead and do the forward neck roll. You're basically working with that 180 degrees. in the front of your body, okay? All the way up to here, back down. Inhale as I come up, exhale as I drop through. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Very good. Then I will move back to a neutral position for the neck. I generally just want you, I don't want you to be in a weird position and then try to move to another position with your neck. You know, when you're doing exercises, come back to a neutral position before you start the new angles. Okay, now, going right into some of the movements that we did. We had kind of a low turnout last class, so I want to kind of get some people caught up. Some pretty cool stuff we did, but also make sure we get something new today. So we're going to work on just getting warmed up, get the heart rate going first. So let's keep this simple, and we're going to start with, yes, working the speed bag. Now you imagine that there's a target here, and you're hitting and hitting with the bottom of your fist. So if you just have the one arm, there you go, okay? Now remember, on the speed bag work, you can also come backwards the other way. It changes the whole dynamic. So follow me. I'm going to have us going forward first, okay? When I say switch, we go back the other way. Okay, switch, now we're moving backwards. Keep the arms right at about collarbone level is ideal. Switch, going forward. Switch, coming back. Kind of warm up those shoulders. Switch, going forward. Switch, going back. Very good. All right. Now, spreading the silk sheet. Hands down to the side. Think like you're spreading a sheet over a bed, but we're going to keep this going kind of faster. So try not to have like, you know, we don't want to slam our hands, but I want a nice gradual, like you're stoking a fire, sending some smoke signals. Okay, there you go. And notice if you have core activity, activate the trunk, get it in a good posture, and actually have some flexion and extension of your core as you do this. And breathe naturally for now because these are more aerobic type exercises. Now, go ahead and relax. We're going to do just one arm for now. Now, switch to the other arm. One arm only. And I'm really not even going that high. I'm mainly swinging like a pendulum. Very good. Now, kind of not so much a swimming motion, but a rise and fall. As one hand drops, the other one's rising. So we're alternating, differentiating. And if you have trunk control, notice how I'm using my core, keeping the back and the shoulders engaged, keeping the crown of the head going upward. One hand can be the inhale, one hand movement can be the exhale. Very good. Back to the middle. Now, solar plexus. In terms of boxing, this is a very vulnerable spot. If you go right down and feel the sternum bone, right where you don't feel the bone and it starts to feel soft, that's your solar plexus. Make a nice cupped fist. Now, if you can't get your fist clenched tight, I don't want you clenching so much that your wrist deviates, depending on if you have any spasticity or tone. Keep it kind of hollow if you need to, but keep as neutral wrist as you can and aim, think like you're punching toward the solar plexus. Now, I don't want this to be kind of a swinging motion. Keep your posture and just engage back and forth instead of like this. Boom, boom. I'm not going to completely lock out my elbow. I'm going to go right to where it stays kind of soft, but it's quick, rapid, and controlled. Let's stay at this speed for now. Let your breathing get comfortable. In about 10 seconds, we're going to take the speed up double time, and then we're going to go back down to just single time. All right? 3, 2, 1, double time. Boom, 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 boom. Yep. The double time, it engages the core. You can feel that stomach crunching. There we go. 3, 2, 1, single time. Yeah, slow it down, half speed. Kind of feel how your lungs, your rib cage, your diaphragm relaxes. Now we're going to go to the speed bag. Nice, easy one. Then when I tell you to go, we're going to go double the speed. 3, 2, 1, begin. Working those triceps, biceps, and the muscles of the shoulder. Try not to let the shoulders float up. Keep them relaxed and slow it down. Half speed. Very good. Excellent. All right, now, yes, man, time flies in these classes. I have so much fun. Let me go right into some breathing, okay? Because a lot of the pointers I give you, you can take this outside of this class and actually work on improving your lung capacity and your endurance of your diaphragm. Remember, your diaphragm is a muscle, so it has the same type of properties as muscles. So it needs to be strong. It needs to have flexibility. It needs to be able to move, and it has to have endurance. It needs to be able to do its motion over a long period of time. The diaphragm automatically moves it involuntarily. However, we have some voluntary control. So what we're going to do is work on the reverse breathing. I'll get here. You can have your hands right on your abdomen. Ideally, if you're doing Tai Chi, you would make a circle. And inside of that circle, you would put your belly button. And right at the bottom, where the fingers meet, that's the part of your body that you're trying to breathe all the way down into. So about 3 inches below the belly button is the focal point, the point of reference. So the mechanism is the reverse breathing is when you inhale, naturally the Buddhist style of breathing, you inhale so you create space in your abdomen by expanding so the air can go in. Well, with reverse breathing, you actually squeeze your muscle contraction, in the stomach as you are inhaling. It's a different kind of a thing. And just think about the motion, the kinematic of just squeezing as you take in a breath. Don't try to force it. Once you feel your lung capacity full, exhale the breath out and let the stomach muscles relax. Let's try 5 of those on our own. I like to hold my abdomen just to stay in cadence. So I start my first one. Inhale. Exhale. Very good. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Everybody give me one more time. So very good. Now this is the kind of movement, believe it or not, whenever we need to generate a lot of strength or explosive power, our bodies naturally convert to this kind of breathing. You can also think about, for instance, if you had to push a car, if it's stuck in the snow or in mud, when you get behind the bumper and you dig in, what happens? You might inhale, but you actually squeeze. And then when you exert your strength, you exhale, it's like, ooh, you make that grunt. That's the exhale while your stomach is expanding. So when you're generating a lot of force, people tend to naturally do the reverse breathing anyway. So just keep that in mind. That's really good to keep the rib cage, the intercostals, all this core muscles activated. So last week we went over an exercise called water. So I'm doing this series where I'm going to highlight each element and kind of go over its benefits. So the water, of course, tends to correspond with the kidneys and, the bladder And I would say metaphysically, the color is associated with really dark colors, purples, blacks, things like that, kind of a damp kind of a mind state when we're thinking of water. So water, it gives nutrition to all parts of our body. It's the medium that everything flows through. Blood is made out of water. Cerebrospinal fluid is made out of water. Synovial fluid is made out of water, and so on. So what we're going to practice first, when we do the water movement, the palms come up to the side. Now notice it's like I'm holding two bowls. And then my hands come into the ears, and then I'm going to press down. And my hands will cross at the wrists. Okay, now to transition to the next movement is the same as before, but we just supinate the wrists out, rise up like we're lifting two bowls of water, come past the ears, and then press back down again. Okay, and the wrists will cross. As we're pressing, the wrists will cross. So what we are doing is we are moving on the frontal or coronal plane here. Then as we come past the ears, we're coming on the sagittal plane, the forward plane. And I'm actually pushing kind of down and forward. So it's not straight down and it's not straight out. It's kind of in between. So I inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Continue doing this. I'm going to go over a subtlety with this exercise. Those that are really pay attention to detail, they may have already seen it. I'll highlight this again. So I cross the hands, inhale up, get those lungs open, come past the ears, exhale down. So the movement is circular with the breath. Inhale, transition, exhale. Now, as we're doing this, my hands, I'm going to have one hand on bottom, one hand on top. But when I come back down, the hands actually switch. Now my right is on top and my left is on the bottom. So as I transition, that's the subtlety that we need, is to alternate the hands. Now, if you are doing with just one hand, what I'd like you to do if possible, okay, as you come out, you can kind of, if you have a good core, movement, actually kind of turn kind of 45 degrees. So instead of going on the frontal plane, you're kind of using the transverse movement. You're coming up and then turn back to the front as you go forward with the hand and down. So it's almost like you're reaching back a little bit. And this is really good for just opening that chest and shoulder up. And there's a couple of you in class that I've worked with personally before. And you've probably remembered me actually manually facilitating moving your arms and stuff through this kind of a motion. This is exactly what I'm doing. If you've ever worked with me in CFW, a lot of these movements may even be familiar to you. Okay, so up and down, up and down. Very good. Now, go ahead, if you haven't, try that with the other arm. Now, this is still going to be kind of a slow meditative exercise, but I want to get more movement and add more of the planes of motion to the water movement. And this is what's interesting. First element is earth. We'll go over that, but you move on kind of the transverse plane. The second element in the sequence is fire, which is the sagittal plane. The third movement of the sequence is actually water, which moves on the frontal plane again, then goes to the sagittal plane as well. But here's what we're going to work on. So what I'd like to do is, as we come up, I want you to turn slightly to one angle, about 45 degrees. I'm turning to my left, and I'm going to complete the motion by pressing to the left. And since I'm facing the left, now this is going to be kind of detailed, but it's fun. Since I'm facing the left, I want my left hand to go under. So then I come back to the middle, inhale. This is my middle position here. As I come to the ears, I exhale. press down to my right. So my right hand is going to go under first. You can kind of see my right hand floats because I'm facing that direction. So inhale up, exhale down to the left. Inhale up, exhale down to the right. Inhale up, exhale down to the left. Inhale up, exhale down to the right. Now, if you've got the gist of this one, keep doing it. It's slow, but it'll kind of keep your blood flowing a little bit, keep you kind of warm. I'm going to go over some subtleties here. So this here, palms up, is the central position. If I'm going to break this down mechanically, then hands to the ears as I do my rotation. Exhale as I press down. Now, when I transition back to palms up, I move back to the neutral position in the middle, then hands to the ears as I turn, then press down. And as my palms turn up, I transition to the middle again. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. That's kind of the overall kind of advanced sequence you want to do. There's a lot going on here, okay? We're moving on the transverse plane. We're moving on the coronal plane. And we're also moving on the sagittal plane. That's the reason why this is a really good element to practice. All right, now go ahead and relax. So again, we'll review this one, breaking it down into pieces. So I usually will exhale to start empty. Inhale up. Without the turns, I'm just coming to the front. Exhale down, crossing the hands, open the hands. Inhale up. And I'm alternating exhale down, which hand goes under as I cross the arms. Inhale up. Exhale down. Now I'm going to turn 45 degrees. I'm going to go to my left. Inhale up. Exhale down. Other side. Inhale up, going through the middle, turning where the ears are. Exhale down. Very good. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Very good. Relax there. How's everybody feeling? Are we getting a little bit of a workout? Very good. With this is what the third or fourth one now. I'm getting the kind of the gauge down. Okay, so, and what I mean is like, I want to get our heart rates up. I want to burn some calories, but I don't want to overdo it. But I also want to get more to the kind of the holistic stuff and the breathing, a lot of the things you can get into at home, which will kind of keep you engaged and keep this stuff interesting. So I'm kind of going back and forth. Last class was kind of an upbeat one. This one's kind of moderate. I'm kind of keeping it low key until we get into next week. So let me introduce, okay, another element that we'll go over for the next week coming. Now, just to get into this, Miss Liz mentioned that she was going to actually make videos of some of these sessions. Here's what I'd like you guys to think about. And again, Liz has my email. You guys can communicate with her. Give her feedback, but this is my idea. I would actually like to make a workout geared around each one of the 5 elements. So do like an earth one, a fire one, a metal wood, and then on the website, you can kind of, however it's set up, you can cycle through. And again, the metaphors are references for different ranges of motion. So you can kind of like access, okay, I like that movement. It made my shoulders feel good. I like that movement. It made my fingers and wrists loosen up. I like that movement. It made me work out my core. So you kind of know, since you guys will be familiar with this. That's an idea. Give us some feedback and let me know what you think. But here is the wood movement. Now, the wood movement is counter to the opening of the chest and shoulders and stuff that I've been doing lately. So just do this one at your own discretion, depending on what you need body-wise. But you will see sometimes where people will have spasms where they actually kind of arch and get into these really tight positions. So the wood element, here's what we're going to do. Let's take a test. If you only have one arm to do this, okay, effectively, that's fine. But I want to see if everybody can first hold their hand straight up into the ceiling. And let's see if you can make your elbows touch in front of your chest. Very good. Now, if you can do that, that's very good. Okay, when I was younger, into all my weightlifting, bodybuilding, there was a time that I couldn't do that, but I feel much better being able to do this. So the wood motion, I want you to think like you were literally immersing your fingers or even one hand into the dirt or the sand. And as you're scooping all of the nutrients and all of the tissue out of the earth, notice how my elbows are coming together. And then, if you can see, I'm going to turn my thumbs. So it's kind of like I'm holding a bowl. Now, this is synonymous. The arms are the trunk. My fingers and thumbs are the branches of the tree. This is the wood metaphor. Then I'm going to just open the palms, come back down. Good. So the wood movement is, as we scoop, we're going to inhale as the elbows come together. Exhale as we come back down. So with just the one arm, same thing. Try to keep the line of your pinky and your ulna bone as much as you can right in front of your nose. And then you come back down. Now notice this movement is really synonymous with supination and pronation, which is a really good characteristic to keep when you have limited movement ability. Also, I'm actually contracting my chest area and lung area as I'm inhaling. So that's synonymous sort of with the reverse type of breathing. But instead of with the core, I'm actually getting it more with the chest and lung area and back down. Okay, the other part of this is if there's tension back here, it actually makes the scapulus kind of move apart and around to get a stretch on your rhomboid muscles in the middle of your scapula. So as I come up, and there might be a tendency to roll up, as you relax and get more flexible, your shoulders will stay down. This is the wood movement. And there's all kinds of things you can do. You can alternate it. You can focus on the downward motion more. So we will definitely get into some of that stuff the next time.